Yes, welcome in to Let Me Put a List Together. Mark Rohde and Brian Mitchell, and I am looking at a first copy of the list that we are doing today. And basically, what we're going to talk about today are things that don't exist anymore or that are useless to you. And just before we came on, we had a 30-second production meeting, and Brian told me the title, and I was like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's go. Because I knew I was just going to throw to you and let you say it. So what are we doing
So here
today?
it is. I'm sure we'll find a way to shorten this in the title, but what we're doing is we're talking about things that existed in the 80s and 90s that are barely around now. So all these
so
things,
concise.
I know, all these things that have been somewhere in your history, if you lived through the 80s and 90s, and you're like, whatever happened to those, or you understand why they went to the wayside. Before we get into today's show, I just want to remind you, hey, if you like the show, if you like what you hear and you want us to keep doing this, please subscribe to Let Me Put a List Together, whether you're listening on Apple, on Spotify, or any of the other podcast services. Also, we are on YouTube, so if you are not on your phone and you want to plug in and find us on YouTube, all you have to do is type in Let Me Put a List Together on YouTube, and when you're there and you're listening, please subscribe there also. Here are some of the things that we're going to talk about. Answering machines, record stores, 1-900 party lines and 1-900 numbers, Radio Shack, beepers, DVDs and CDs, dating ads in print, newspapers, home phone, call 69 or caller ID, roll-up car windows, only having 4 channels on television, car door ashtrays, and smoking sections. So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. Mark is going to go first on this one. So Mark, if you'd like to take over, what is one of your things that existed in the 80s and 90s that is barely around now?
I am going to go with beepers. Beepers do still exist. I think the only profession that I know of that still has beepers for sure are doctors and nurses. I don't know that all of them still do, but that's still one place where, hey, we're not just going to call your cell phone. You need to know how important it is to get there. So yeah, I actually, for about, 2 years of my life, I was required to wear a beeper back when I was a news reporter in Springfield, Illinois.
Okay.
And Brian, I hated having a beeper.
It's basically a leash, right?
Yeah, it's a leash. Yes. When the beeper beeped, it meant, I got to work. Because when you're a news reporter or any kind of a reporter, a lot of it's, hey, we need you to go there in a moment's notice. Hey, there might be a day where you do nothing. But when that beeper goes off, and back when I had a beeper, didn't really have a cell phone. And so you find like a payphone or your landline and you call the boss, hey, I need you. There's a fire on Darlington Road near the Capitol right now. So I need you to get there. So that was my life with a beeper. That's one thing that I don't miss and don't feel nostalgic about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I had a beeper as well. Was not a drug dealer, of course.
Yeah, I figured you were.
I was a drug dealer, but it was legal drugs for 7 years with Abbott Laboratories. But that was a long time ago.
Right.
But I was with this DJ company, and when they needed to get a hold of me because of a client meeting or something like that, way before cell phones, that's what I had to do. So yeah, and just like you said, you had to find a pay phone or go to your buddy's house. Hey, can I use your phone? So I got to call work, and it was kind of weird and awkward. Yeah. But then I remember the beepers. They started out like just little black beepers, and then they started getting like real stylish. Like they were like blue and multicolor. They had like chains for your belt.
Why not? It's like everything in the United States of America. Think about the masks that everybody is wearing. Whereas people were just throwing towels over their face at first. Now there's Gucci masks.
They made it stylish. You had the multicolored ones. And the other things I remember were like the codes. Like, the code
codes.
911. That meant like you have to call right now. 411. Hey, I just want a little information about, where this party is tonight. Then once the phones came out, it got much better. So then you didn't have to worry about that. But what's weird now, though, and I think about this a lot when it comes to how we text right now. Texting is like the main way that we communicate, especially these generations. It's so much easier to just text and get it over with instead of answering the phone. But if you think about it, isn't text more like Morse code, whereas a phone call is, your you're conversing like now, like how we're conversing, and it just seems like we went backwards. Doesn't it seem like we went backwards?
Yeah,
like
right.
you'd think that it would be like text would be first, and then phone call, and then text would never exist. Do you understand what I'm saying?
To you. I totally get what you're saying.
It's like, but what we did was we were like, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk, even though that's the most adequate way to communicate. I'm just gonna write it and type it and send it to you and take more time because I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear your voice or whatever. So
and that's a great point, and like sort of a separate little addendum to that, not necessarily related to what you were saying, but as for texting, what texting allows everybody, when there is a texting happening, it allows everybody to be in control of the conversation, not just you, but the person you're talking to or the other. Like everybody has their own little piece of the power when it's text messaging, because you don't have to return a text message and you don't have to engage as heavily as the other person, or it's oppo, and then you kind of get the other person's vibe too. Okay, they're not really in the mood right now, so I'm getting the one word responses. I'm getting some thumbs ups. I get it, because I do the same thing when I'm like tired and I don't that's control. So everybody wants a little bit of control.
All right, well, that's it. Number 14 we're gonna put as beepers. That was a good start, Mark. Okay, on to number 13, and number 13 is mine, and this was something that was very big when I was growing up. It was star 69 or caller ID. Before there was star 69 and caller ID, the phone was fair game. Who was answering, who was sending, and it was a glorious time if you were a jokester and prankster like myself and my friends. So we used to prank and record people like a la Jerky Boys. I remember when they had the little boxes too. Remember the boxes for Star 69?
Sure.
Because before, the phone would ring and you'd have to say, hi, and then who's this? But now everybody knows who's calling. So
it's like, I don't know, I'm thinking about that. The mystery of who was calling the house when you're a kid, and there is none of that. No cell phones, no nothing, no caller ID, and that chance you take, and you always did, because that was. And I'm talking about predating answering machines as well. Honestly, Brian, you summed it up really well with caller ID and star 69, because I wrote down in my notes here, put me out of business, and it's the same thing you were talking about. I think you and I had a very similar childhood in this regard. Same thing. Friends got together. We would get out the phone book and literally just call, hey, is this Jane Smith? And we would talk, and we would try to keep them on the phone as long as possible. It's long over. It was
let's put it in this. Let's put it in this sense. You got a girl. You're in 9th grade or whatever, and you like this girl, and it's probably only the second or third time you've ever called her, and you get her dad on the phone.
Yeah.
Who is this? It's Brian. Is Jennifer home?
Oh my God. You're giving me the willies.
Oh my gosh. It's like, hold on.
Oh,
Jennifer, someone's on the phone. And it's like, oh, dude, he's thinking the worst. He's thinking all this stuff. You never got a dad that was like, hi, is Jennifer there? Hey, who is this? This is Brian. Hey, Brian, how are you? Hold on, let me get it. You never got that.
Yeah. Hope you're doing well. Let's cut the small talk. Let me get my daughter.
Yeah. Hey, hold on 1 second. Let me get Jennifer. Brian's on the phone. You never got that. You got
no.
It was always that, you woke him up from sleep because he's working nights at the mill.
I get it now because the dads are like, oh, I hear you're on the score. Their daughters don't know me from the score.
All right, star 69 is number 13. All right, as we go to number 12, Mark, what do you got?
I am going to go with, I love this one. Our Door Ashtrays. Yep.
There were car door ashtrays.
Yes, there were.
They did exist.
Were. And I am picturing sitting in my station wagon that I grew up in and seeing that tiny little aluminum foil steel. I guess it's some sort of steel or something. And you just pick up the little. It opens completely and it shuts. There's a little spring on it, and you could pull out the little cartridge, I guess you call it, to empty out all the disgusting cigarette ashes, like, and there was always filth, and there was always like a McDonald's wrapper in there with
like a piece of gum and maybe like a crinkled up wrapper from the McDonald's straw.
Right, right. And then you go to empty it, and now you gotta get the gum off of it, and you gotta. I remember them. I guess not fondly. Again, this is not a romantic one. Oh, car door ashtrays. Look at the buds and there's a little dead ant in there as well. So
it doesn't bring back warm fuzzy memories.
No, but it was something, as you said at the beginning, that existed.
That don't exist anymore. Car door ashtrays, this along with the silver part of the seatbelt was always the hottest part of the car. I think it was similar to the temperature of the sun as you were sitting there and you put your arm on that, and then you put, get by your belt.
Man.
It's like, it's so hot. Then of course you'd have to roll down the windows and then, because you had the 3rd-degree burns. And of course, as you said, they were always nasty because they were always filled up, because even if they were closed, people would forget that they ashed in there or whatever, and then you'd open it up and it'd be like this just plethora of gook and junk and ashes and nasty. Just I'm glad those are gone. Glad those are gone. So that was a good one. Good trip back for number 12.
Yeah, that was a good trip back. It was car door ashtrays. That felt good. That really cleansed the palate.
I know. Anytime I get sad and just want a little bit of nostalgia, I go right for those.
Oh, the smell of old ashes. That is.
Yeah,
love it.
All right, we're moving on to number 11, and that is going to be mine, and it's going to be 1-900 numbers and party lines. Now, I always saw these on TV, and but never called one because that shit was like $1.99 a minute. So I'm not calling these things. I knew that I would be lynched if I called those, and I might have been a little too young. I know that famous people would always have like the 1-900 thing, Ice Cube, listen to the new cuts on my new album. Or I even remember when I was even younger, 976 was really popular around like Christmas time. Yes. They would have like those special numbers where you could call Santa and hear a recording.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was like, oh my gosh, I can reach him in the North Pole. It was. So, I mean, the 1-900 party lines, I know that you were talking about these a little bit, and you had a little bit more experience on the party line side. So what can you tell me about, what were those like?
Well, I'm turning red in the face right now, I assume, because this was pretty embarrassing, man. So, the 1-900 party lines, basically, you can call these lines, and you could just talk to random people about whatever. Usually it's just like other kids at other high schools. Like this, I don't even remember the conversations. But guess what? Your boy decided to call one of these, as you said, expensive 1-900 numbers. And I remember what it was. It was 1-900-202-0202. And that was the jingle for it. And I was just like, it was more of, my mentality was the prankster. I'm going to go on here and stir it up, And you did
stir it up though once the bill came, right?
Oh well, yeah, and I'll get to that in a second. But even getting on there in the conversations and the weird, like I was just there to troll. It was like early day trolling, and so it was quite something. But yeah, the real exclamation point to the story, other than just the fact that I did that, was the fact that I wasn't thinking about the bill going up. As a matter of fact, I was so stupid and naive and young, I guess, that I would like talk for a while and then hang up because I thought maybe that would like quell the bill. Like I would beat the system somehow. And it doesn't add up, but I would do that. I was like, okay, that's only $1. Okay, if I hang up now, 60 seconds, that's how undeveloped my brain was at this point in my life. So I'm thinking I'm beating the system. Yeah. Nobody's going to notice the bill. And then my mom, did she lose it?
How much do you think that bill was, honestly?
Well, right. How much was she told me too, and I can't remember what it was. It was, this is relative to the time. This is the 80s, maybe. No, not 90s. Certainly not 90s. 80s, so mid 80s, say. So think about that. I think it was like an extra $80 to the bill, which is a killer amount. Then that's a killer amount.
You're done.
And I'm making no money in my life, and so my parents know they have to pay it.
Yeah.
So they were gonna give it to me good before they paid it, and they had no choice. So they had to pay.
They had to pay.
And it was on them, and they knew the worst they could do to me. Whatever they were gonna do to me wasn't coming out of my pocket.
Exactly.
So I am embarrassed. I'm equally embarrassed. And no, I'm just embarrassed to tell that story. But there it is. There it is.
All right. So that was 1-900 numbers and party lines. Number 10, and it's mine, and I'm going to say dating ads in print. In newspaper print. Now, I always found that dating ads in newspapers a little creepy. And the reason why is because you couldn't see any pictures. It was just like a very simple introduction, like single white female looking for male counterpart who likes cooking, long walks on the beach, doesn't mind my motorcycle. That was basically it. I mean, you think to it now, and I never really had to date online, or I haven't at all because I've been with my wife for a long time.
You better not have.
Yeah. But I mean, think of how it is now. You get to see the picture of that person. You see what they look like, somebody that you might even be attracted to you. I mean, now it's a lot much easier. But back then, I mean, the newspaper was just black and white, and that was it. And you had to hopefully it would be a good thing when you guys met up wherever. I'm glad that they've moved into the internet world, but dating ads in print, I don't know, just uncomfortable with them, creepy, weird.
They had dating ads in the paper a bad reputation. They just did. They were either considered weird, desperate, outlandish. And they're probably, I think back, I mean, that predates me a little bit in terms of actually ever having used that. So, who knows? Maybe I was in high school, but certainly not somebody who's going to look in a newspaper for a date. I mean,
can you when you think of the dating ad, do you picture the person? It's the short middle-aged white guy with his hair receding, mustache, that kind of.
I don't know. Just eccentric. I don't know if I picture that, because you're kind of describing
every
just loser. I think more eccentric or I don't know, or dangerous.
Okay, dangerous. Yeah.
And it's all probably wrong.
Yeah.
Because you were juxtaposing to nowadays where maybe those dating ads and papers were actually ahead of their time. They just didn't monetize it the same way. Yeah. And now you juxtapose to here, and it's official. Maybe when Match.com first came out, I think it was still taboo, and people didn't really want to admit they were on Match.com. I mean, I will say that I've dabbled in Match, through the years for sure. I was just looked at it as it's just an extra outlet for potential whatever. Yeah. So but I never bragged about it. I didn't want anybody to see the app. I didn't want to talk about it. But now it's like part of your social media identity. Yeah. Here's your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and your Match.com profile or whatever you use. Everybody's had one, and why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It's like a cheat sheet. You can do it out in the public if you want, but you don't get the information ahead of time.
Gotcha.
And it's fun both ways. But anyway, by the way, quick other sidebar, and we'll move right on. You were the first person to get me on Match.com.
I was.
At your house, at your old Chicago house.
I was.
And
That's
you were
right.
I didn't know much about it. You're like, let's get you on here.
Hilarious. All right, Mark, stay right there. We'll be right back. You're listening to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Let Me Put a List Together is brought to you by...
This episode is brought to you by Vistaprint. When you give someone a gift that's so thoughtful they couldn't possibly part with it? This season, celebrate your favorite people by giving them something only they could get. At Vistaprint, capture that epic girls' weekend in a calendar for your besties. Or send everyone a gorgeous holiday card with your family making not-so-gorgeous faces. Make something just for them at Vistaprint.com/podcast and make it unregiftable.
What if wearing underwear could feel better than going commando? Like if the waistband didn't roll or dig, and the fabric made you sweat less, and the whole thing moved with you, never against you. At Mack Weldon, we're reinventing men's basics. starting with your underwear. Introducing AirKnit X, our lightest, most breathable technology, engineered with 4-way stretch. If you don't love your first pair, it's free. So try one today at MacWeldon.com.
And now, back to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
All right, so that was dating ads in print. Number 10, that was me. So number 9 is you.
Okay, let's go with, I love this one as well. Let's go with 4 channels, ladies and gentlemen. 4 channels. And what does that mean? To some of our younger listeners, that means that when we were growing up, and Brian and I both grew up in the Chicagoland area, there were, and this is probably universal throughout the country, there were like 4 to maybe 5 channels you could watch. And that was it.
Yep.
No remote, no cable, no 500 channel. Like, and I'm not, no joke, 4 to 5 channels. And when I was growing up, we were growing up, there was channel 2. There was channel 5, there was channel 7, and there was channel 9, which was WGN. And then there were like maybe 3 other like
UHF.
You know, yeah, you could like other, like I always thought they were like from another world. It's like here's UHF, here's channel 44. Like it's always had a little like a really good fuzz in the background. Like it was never coming in clear. It didn't matter what you did, it wasn't going to happen. So those were like the bonus channels. And then every once in a while, something weird would break through the television. Like you could see porn at 2:00 in the morning, breaking through, you know, the beginnings of HBO or something.
Actually, that was the beginning of On TV.
Oh my God, On TV.
Because On TV ran on channel 44.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
okay.
right.
Yeah. Right. So that was life, man. And I will tell you, sometimes I think about that as I sit at home like most people with about 1,000 channels and Netflix and Apple TV and all these different outlets. And I'll be damned if there are nights when I am not satisfied with my TV viewing. You know what I mean? Like you're like, I feel like I watched everything and nothing and I'm not. So sometimes it's good to have just a few choices and invest in something.
Exactly. Like a book, right?
Yeah, yeah. Ain't gonna happen. But you know what? I kind of wish it was still around. It'll never happen.
Yeah, it'll never happen. Yeah, it's hard to believe that at one time, before we had cable, we only had 4 channels. And, you know, like you said, NBC, CBS, ABC, and then Channel 9. But, of course, you had the bonus channels on the UHF side. You know, you had to switch over. You had, well, in Chicago, we had 32, which was basically playing all reruns and all shows, like cartoons, things like that.
Yes.
Then you had Channel 44, which before it became like On TV or before it went to On TV at like 7:00, you had like Spectre Man and Speed Racer and all these like, you know, bizarre cartoons. So
and White Sox baseball.
And White Sox baseball, yeah. And as well as the Blackhawks did that. But I think they were on like a Sports Vision or something of that nature.
Yeah, eventually. Yeah.
And if you wanted to play video games like Atari, you had Channel 3, where you had that weird-ass adapter in the back where you had to slide up when you were on there. And then, you know, play your Space Invaders or Pitfall or Asteroids or whatever. And if you missed a show, that was it. Unless, you know, you were rolling with a VCR that early. But if you wanted to see Michael Jackson on his Motown special where he did the moonwalk, guess what? You weren't going to see that again if you didn't watch it, you know, at that time. So
I can't even watch TV without pausing, Brian.
Yeah. You just missed it. You missed it. That was it. You moved on, and everybody was like talking about it the next day at the bus stop. Did you see Michael Jackson do the moonwalk?
Well,
like the other kids were like, no, you know. And I was like, dude, it was the best. It was like,
and you know what this feeds into? What you're saying is that's why local news was so huge when we were growing up. It was like in the evening news because that's the only chance you would get to see it again, whatever it was in the world that you were interested in.
And not only that, but it was interesting because if you grew up in Chicago, it worked like this. It worked like Los Angeles, that was the movie stars. And then in New York, that was like the TV stars.
Sure.
But in Chicago, our news people were like, you know, our superstars, you know? I mean,
yes.
They, you know, Walter Jacobson, Bill Curtis, Fahey Flynn, Joel Daly. I mean, I could sit there and go on, the bigwigs that went through there, and they were trusted heroes, on those channels, those 4 or 5 channels that you could get.
Right. I mean, Chicago had, you're right, anchors then and athletes. That's it. And now it's just athletes. So it's like, and Kanye and Chance the Rapper.
That's right.
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Include those two. So
yes.
All right, 4 channels, Mark.
So here's the quick wrap up so far. 14 beepers, 13 star 69 caller ID, etc. 12 car door ashtrays. Man, that just really felt good. 11 1900
900 1900.
Oh,
1900.
And 1900 to 2020.
Yeah.
1900 numbers at 10 dating ads, and number 9 was just the 4 channels. Brian, what's number 8?
I remember me and you were talking about this, and that's Radio Shack. Radio Shack, for a guy that was in to music and equipment and electronics, it was the place for random cords, adapters. I used to work there during Christmas because I was in charge of stocking the toys. So I'd have to unbox the toys in the back, and then we'd stack them up. They had the remote control cars and trucks, and they had the coolest Christmas toys. And then I was put on the sales floor. So that's even more funny. I actually worked at Radio Shack.
Dude, I can totally picture you working at Radio Shack.
So I'm going to put you here. It's the early 90s, okay? I'm like a junior in high school. And, my 10th grade year, I worked in the back. And then they brought me out on the sales floor the next year. So I remember working the Christmas holiday, and it was weird because I was kind of like hip hop 90s dress, remember, with the button collars and the
I could see that too.
And the that.
You're fancy.
So I was dressed like that. Those were my nice clothes, and their nice clothes were straight from Sears. You know what I'm saying? So what I had to kind of do was I had to get like a tie that was kind of normal, and what saved me was the cardigan.
Oh,
you put the cardigan and put it all together, and you still, you looked, conservative, yet, you had the Cavaricis and the
still
black
could
shoes.
feel, you could still respect yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, cardigan saved everything. There was also this thing called a free battery card. There would be older, elderly people come in, battery, they get a free battery once a month or once every 3 months or something. And they're always looking for the battery for their hearing aids. And I'm coming in here with my free battery card. I want the battery. So you'd have to go get them the battery and click their thing.
Man.
My first boombox was from there. My first microphone, my first DJ mixer. Everything was from Radio Shack. And the way I got hooked up is my brother's best friend was a manager. So that's kind of how all that.
That is the best and most believable story. You fit the profile of a radio because you're a production geek and you're into all that stuff, man.
I was, man. I mean, what is your feeling about Radio Shack? What's your memories?
Well, Brian, I did not work at Radio Shack. Okay, so I don't have the same personal experience that you.
You know
do.
what's interesting is that did you even work in high school?
No, I did. I worked at Jewel and the Itasca Country Club.
Okay.
So,
well, first of all, you definitely weren't from this area because you called it
Jewels.
Jewel.
I know. I
didn't
did.
Have the S.
I know. I blew it.
Jewels.
Yeah, the Jewels. The Jewels in the Itasca Country Club.
Nice. All right. So, what is your feeling about Radio Shack? Because we were talking about, if you'd be like, oh man, I need an adapter for this.
Yeah, no, that exactly. It was the greatest thing to those random moments when I needed just that one stupid little thing, and that was the only it's one of those stores that it is so specialized in some regards that it's the only place you could go at that time. There was no Best Buy, there was no online. Radio Shack was a superstar kind of place because it had all those things, and my trips were not frequent, so I think that made them even more special. It was oh, this is a Radio Shack moment. Oh.
And then you'd look at like all the little stuff that they have, like, you know, like what is it, the metal detectors? They would always have like these weird like
yes.
And another thing that was very popular at Radio Shack was the fireman's hat with the red siren on top. That was one that they always sold. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it always had stuff like that only Radio Shack had, and now everybody has. And, you know, shout out to Radio Shack. Because are there still like one or two maybe?
I think they're trying to move it online now. They shut it down, and I think they're trying to revive it online.
No, I'm sure it is online. I just don't think there's actually any stores left.
No, there's not. No.
Period. Like, I know maybe 5 years ago, there was still the one on Michigan Avenue where I am downtown. So, boy, based on the information you gave, I'm surprised you didn't have Radio Shack a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But that's the intrigue of the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will go with, we alluded to this earlier in our ashtray segment, but the rolling up of car windows.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that in all the advancements of life that we have endured or been allowed to endure, going from the crank window where you do it manually to open your window to the automatic windows was one of the most magical things ever. Because when I was growing up, the cars that we had initially when I was young were just you actually crank the window open, kids. You actually had to use physically open, and there was no button to press. Yeah. And then we had some friends down the block named the Mellingers who had a car that had electric windows. And it was like being in the most advanced car ever. When I was in that car, it was like, wow, this is something beyond. Like, I just want to sit back here and roll the windows up and down, and I'll be damned if I didn't do it. So, yeah. Oh, just
Mark,
great.
Can you stop touching the window?
That's what it was.
No, Mark, leave it up.
And the windows only went halfway down because they're stupid ass child-proof windows.
I accidentally hit it. Mark, stop playing with the window.
That's it.
You got in trouble. That's hilarious. Yeah, the roll-up windows. I mean, that's why people nowadays say, hey, roll up your windows, you know, and you still have the electric thing, but that's what they say, or put up your windows. But I still say, you know, hey, roll up the window. Roll up the window.
Yeah.
You know? Put the windows up. I guess maybe I do say put the windows up.
Yeah.
But that's what we were talking about. It was like just a medieval contraption of spinning the lever in a mad circle, right? And the best was when, you're sitting there in the car and it's like all four windows are down, and then it's like it starts to rain and there's this mad dash. Everybody's like, it's like, man, are you following me? You're seeing this in your head, right?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Everybody's like rolling it up.
Roll them up. And then in the winter, they get harder to roll up.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Maybe you had a fancy car. I don't know.
Now you do that. Yeah, they were like the medieval contraption where you're just.
Yeah, I need a hand here. It's like an old school ship, you know. All right, we're gonna turn. Here we go. Make the move.
Yeah.
Anchor down.
Roll up car windows. Those have gone to the wayside.
Yeah. There are zero of those left. Well, actually, no, that's probably wrong.
Sure,
actually,
no. That's why I said that are barely around now. So I'm sure there's
barely
some that are out
there. Yeah. Probably insulting somebody.
Absolutely.
Who got $3,000 off.
I got $3,000 off because I could roll them up myself.
It's like driving a car is the hardest thing he does in his life because he doesn't have power steering. He has crank windows, like no traction. Yeah, driving, he's got to put a helmet on.
Yeah. Oh, funny. Oh, man. All right. Roll up windows. Was that you, Mark?
That was me. Yeah, that was number 7. So we're getting to it. We're getting into it now.
Yes.
6, buddy.
All right, so here we go. Smoking sections. Now, some people don't even know about smoking sections because they are so young that, it was always no smoking in the building, no smoking in this. But there used to be days you could go to a restaurant and the host, you'd walk in, she'd ask you smoking or non-smoking. Of course, when you went with your friends, like in high school or, out for a night out, you'd be going into the smoking section and, at Denny's or whatever. But then when you got older, it was like, and I could deal with the smoke and blah, 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 non-smoking section. And of course, the hostess, if you you gave her a hard time, she would always sit you in that chair that was basically the next one over was the smoking section, if you pissed her off. So basically, you'd be in the smoking section, but legally, you're not in the smoking section,
right?
If you follow me. So there used to be smoking in bars as well. And I know you know that, right? I mean, remember those days?
Oh,
because now you can't smoke in a bar in Illinois. You can't do any of that. But I remember when Erica would go out to the club or whatever with her friends, and, maybe I wouldn't go out that night or whatever. She'd come back and she'd be smelling like shampoo and heavy cigarette smoke in her hair.
Totally.
And I used to DJ at these clubs too, so I'm sure I got some precancerous secondhand smoke issues myself just from breathing in all that stuff. But yeah, there's nothing like girls' hair post club in the 90s, which would smell like hairspray and just, thick cigarette smoke. So I'm glad smoking has gone to the wayside.
Me too. And I never thought anything of it, like especially going into bars and everybody, I would smoke in bars. Like I'd have a cigarette, and like it's inconceivable to even like imagine people smoking inside. Sometimes I'll be watching a TV, like a movie that was, from the 90s or something, and somebody like they're in an office together and somebody busts out a cigarette. It's like, what? Like, you can't do that.
Let me tell you the freakiest thing that I just saw. I was looking on the internet, and I was checking out old Johnny Carson's, and Lee Marvin, the guy, the old guy with the white hair from the Dirty Dozen. Remember, he was in charge of all of them. He had like a really deep voice. Dude, this he pulls up. He's like, John, I went with her, to and he's tapping his cigarette. He puts it in his mouth. He goes and reaches for the thing, and he's about to light up right there. I'm like, holy shit, this is the 70s.
Dude, Johnny Carson smoked on his show.
Yeah, I know. He was
on the show.
I don't remember that. Probably I know he was a heavy smoker.
It was in the first probably 3 years of his show. And again, just from watching like the old episodes that you always catch. And like he's got an ashtray. You see the smoke coming up. He'll take a drag right in the middle of a question.
That's great.
It's unbelievable, like what it used to be. Again, juxtaposed to today. And it's like, if you do, like, you can't even smoke within 15 feet outside. Like, not only going to be outside, but you have to like find no man's land. Like, you have to be away from that tree, that park, that flower garden, and that person. And now you can have 3 drags off your cigarette.
Well, I've lived with smokers probably from the time I was 10 until I was 23, 24, lived with a smoker and worked in nightclubs. So, yeah, I'm kind of done with cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Don't ever want life to be like that again. All right. So that's number 6. That was yours. So we've made it into
the top 5.
The top 5. So, well, the home phone. Yes. The landline, the home phone, there was one phone oftentimes per household, and we alluded to it a little bit earlier, but there was no attachments to it. That's the landline that I am discussing. No answering machine, no star 69, like just coming full circle here on this list.
You might even had like a rotary. Remember the old rotary?
Yeah, might even have had a rotary. And yes, and you know what? You could get, the busy signals. What? Like you call, that was the worst thing ever, man. Getting a busy signal, and then you just you're at the mercy of whoever the hell they're talking to. And you're like, all right, I'm going to wait 10 minutes. And you call again. And you're like, again. Yeah. And then when he gets mad, when the phone is off the hook.
Mark, the phone's off the hook.
Yeah. And then eventually it just stops. And the whole house dies because the phone is off the hook. We've been trying to call you for 3 days.
Everybody freaks out.
Right. But there was, I guess life was less urgent then because somehow we survived not talking to or communicating with somebody. Like, think about it. If you want to communicate with somebody right now in life, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Back then, sometimes you're like, I want to communicate with this person. And you just couldn't, and you'd have to wait a day.
Yeah, or set up a time.
Set up a time, or a quick call and just get together, meet up somewhere. Yeah. So, yes, that was just some of the fun that the landline brought to my life, and I think to most people's life.
I haven't had a home phone, I think, since like 2003. So, but as a teenager, it was life. You'd stay on that thing for hours. hopefully you had one of the cordless ones when they came out so you could at least move around. But if not, you were just trapped like in that one spot, and hopefully you had like a really long cord so you go wrap yourself around into the closet so you could talk. And the other thing that I remember as a kid, 8th grade, 9th grade in the summertime, which was really popular, you had a girlfriend or whatever, and you'd stay on the phone like late at night and fall asleep on the phone. And it'd be like 2:30. Like,
Yep.
Hey, are you still up? Yeah. Are you up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, I don't want to hang up yet.
Yeah.
All right.
Totally.
Yeah. And then,
Right.
all that stuff. But those are some of the memories I have of home phone. So, and now I just use my cell and that's it. So I'm talking.
There, was that what you do now, Brian? you use your cell phone, huh?
That's all I do. How do you want me to come out of that, dude? I don't know.
No, I think you should leave that out there.
Good.
It's just so funny. Well, because like the audience was waiting. So what do you guys do now?
Yeah.
Well, I just use my cell.
That's it. Oh, man. So home phone, that was yours. And what number was that?
Okay, so that was number 5. So you, Mr. Mitchell, as we are down to 4 on this list of stuff that we don't use anymore.
Record stores is my next one. There is something about the smell of vinyl that is totally nostalgic. If you walk into a record store, it just smells like vinyl and plastic and all those good smells. And there was nothing like buying a brand new like vinyl record or a cassette. That smell was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And you had your favorite record stores. I mean, by me, it was Camelot, Record Town, or Coconuts. You had that one. And then there was a little store called Hegwish Records, which had it was like a mom and pop shop. It had a lot of hard to get stuff, a lot of bootlegs and imports and stuff like that you couldn't get at just your basic Camelot record stores. And I missed that whole thing of like going and shopping for a record and looking and, picking and seeing the cover and be like, oh, that's a cool cover, and seeing who the producers are and all that stuff, man. I missed that. So now it's nice because basically I have a library on Spotify, which, you can just go there and pull down whatever you want, whenever you want. You think of a song, you can pull it right up. But the only bad thing about, I think, Spotify and all of that and record stores going to the wayside is because the artists don't get paid as much, which is kind of a bad thing because they're not getting the money from the actual tangible physical record. So if I had to say the downside of that, being able to get music at any time would be that they are not being taken care of. So I hope that changes.
I agree with that because you and I both are big time supporters of music, obviously. But I'll build on something that you were saying. While it is so easy to get your music instantly, and it'd be really hard to trade that in, the actual activity of making the plan to go to a record store and then activate that plan was awesome. Mm-hmm. Like that. So an activity has actually been eliminated, like going to an amusement park. Like there's no reason to plan that anymore or go by yourself or whatever. But it was a day out to do. By the way, did you not have Music Land?
Oh, Music Land. Yeah.
Okay. Because you didn't mention Music Land, but it was such a big deal. Like I remember going into the equal highs and lows that could exist. Going like if you were going with a plan to get like your Huey Lewis in the News sports cassette, and it was there, and there's like 3 left, got one, and like go pay your whatever $12 or whatever it was then to buy a cassette. Was it even that much? I don't remember.
So.
And or the low of the opposite happening, like where you're, oh my God, the Def Leppard is sold out. Shit.
Yeah.
Like either got to go to another place, or I'm just not going to get to listen to this song on demand because there's nowhere else to get it.
Yeah. Or you know what? Another thing would be like, you heard a song on like a movie or something, and you found out who sang it. And you're like, oh my God, I didn't know they sang it. Yeah. And it's maybe some obscure band from like, I don't know, Switzerland or something. And you go to like, just your regular Camelot, they don't carry it. It's like you're looking at, say the name was whatever, Davis or whatever, and you're looking in the D's and you're like, Def Leppard,
Not there.
They don't carry
Is it in the back? Is it in the back?
Do you guys even carry this? No, I never heard of this.
Oh, no.
No. So then you go to Hegwish, and then you'd have to they'd be like, oh, yeah, we got 5 of these, man.
Oh, and here's the other thing, too. I'd learn a lot at music stores because there was a lot of stuff that I would just I knew what I was interested in, but I would go look at the stuff that I wasn't as interested in, just see what's hot and what's new and what the new releases are and all of that. So there was a
What about new
pleasure.
releases? They only came out on Tuesday. And
Okay, I don't remember that, but okay.
Yeah. So if you knew that they were going to be out on Tuesday, you're running into the store because, Beastie Boys are coming out with Paul's Boutique. That's their second album. You're running to the store. Run DMC's coming out with Raising Hell. On this day, you're going to be at the store that day to get it. Yeah.
How about, do you remember Rolling Stone Records on Harlem and Irving
Yes,
in Chicago?
I do. Yep. And I didn't go there until I was, older.
Yeah, me too. Me and my boy Fez would get in his parents' van and we would drive.
They had all kinds of stuff there. Yeah, absolutely. Rolling Stones was a lot like Hegwish, where I was from. The Hegwish Records.
Okay.
Kind of like that. Kind of like Mom and Poppy and
yeah,
all the T-shirts and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
the smell, everything.
Yep. Okay, Mark, quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Get in touch with the show through email at lists@podcastentertainment.com.
Why would an oil and gas company tie executives' pay to lowering the carbon emissions intensity of their operations? Because we believe in actions, not just words. Learn more at chevron.com/lower carbon.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a Shakespearean actor.
Oh, woe is me. Wherefore are thy claims help when I hadst a fender bender?
Pardon the interruption, but when you file a claim with Geico, your claims team will be in touch right away.
But willest they forget about me later when thou needest updates?
No. They'll always be there to, helpeth you out.
Well, I suppose that I should bemoan something else, like my lactose intolerance. Oh, whyest must dairy disagree with me so savagely?
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
And now, back to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
All right, number 3, what do you got?
Newspapers.
Yes.
Newspapers. And God bless them, newspapers still exist. I support newspapers. I hope they find a way to stay forever. I am attached to the business and the mass communications business, so I appreciate them. And I, like a lot of our listeners, I also grew up, I am not unique in that I grew up with newspapers, and newspapers were and are important, but that was the way that you would get your news, by getting in our case, growing up, it was always the Chicago Tribune. And you, Brian, you know me.
Yeah.
The first thing that I would do is I would just skip past the front section. Oh, Muammar Gaddafi. What's going on with him this week? Whip through the business section. or whatever the hell was going on.
Absolutely.
Something in Iraq probably, or the Ayatollah Khomeini. He's on 60 Minutes or something. I don't know. Did the Cubs win or not?
Yeah.
And
something's going on in Grenada.
Right. Something's happening in Grenada. Did we just take over Grenada? Yep, we sure did. What did the Cubs-Pirates game do yesterday? So it was like, and I would just get to that magic part and just pull out the sports section, and I was good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's weird how important and how much a part of, your daily life newspapers were, and for your entire family. I mean, I delivered newspapers when I was 12, so I had to put all the inserts and all that stuff in it and, take it around. And people were really, really upset if they didn't get their paper. It was like losing their right arm if, it was misdelivered or, you threw it off and it was like in their bush or something. Where's my paper? They'd call us, and I'll never forget delivering newspapers and the Thanksgiving morning, because of Black Friday, in the mid 80s, that thing would be like a phone book, that newspaper with all the ads for Black Friday the next day.
God.
Literally, I could only deliver maybe 20 papers at a time and then have to come back because they were so damn thick.
Sunday paper.
But then, of course, as I got older, I mean, I was a journalism major, so I was really into the newspaper reading, ride the South Shore every day to go to, Columbia College, and I'd go get my coffee and get, the Sun-Times or, a Tribune. And, of course, you read it all the way up there, and Sun-Times had feeder in it. So so I always want to check out what's going on in the business. And you just wanted to know what the hell was going on. And now everything is on your phone. So a lot more convenient, but that whole black ink on your hands and the smell and all that, those kids nowadays will never get to experience that.
When was the last time you bought a newspaper?
I couldn't even. Probably the 2016.
Wow,
because of the Cubs,
man.
Because of the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, I bought more. Like, it took me a second to like stop because there was still like a huge satisfaction I got from But I stopped because it's just you're wasting money buying them. Yeah, quite frankly, and I hate to say that, but you probably are.
It is going the way of the dinosaur. So it's just. That's kind of what it is. I mean, I know older people, they still get their paper, or they have to go and get the Sunday paper at wherever, 7-Eleven or wherever.
Yeah, no, my parents still get like a couple. Even my parents.
Yeah. My mom did till very recently.
Yeah, but even my parents, same. Like, they've cut down. Like, they don't get it every day. Yeah. There's like, they get like the Sunday paper and like a couple other days. But even, it's not necessarily an old person thing. Like, old people can figure out too that you can get this stuff pretty easily without having to pull a rubber band off of something. Yeah.
Newspapers, awesome, love them.
Yeah, there you go.
So that was number 3. Now we're all getting sad.
Yes, as this list winds down here, let me put a list together.
All right, we're going to do number 2, and number 2 is going to be the tangible, sitting next to your phone answering machine. So before voicemail, there was the answering machine. There are still answering machines around. In fact, I was researching this. Yeah, there are. I mean, like at Walmart, you can get one for like $10. Hook it up, I guess, to your home phone line. But no one really uses that. Even people that have home lines now have voicemail that they can just go and check, and you don't have to have the tangible tape. But I remember there used to be a commercial on TV, and it sold a tape of creative outgoing messages. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember it?
I do.
It was called Crazy Calls.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now, here's the thing. If anybody has watched Ted Lasso, the show Ted Lasso, there is a skit where his boss calls his phone and he does the outgoing message of the crazy call. He does it himself. Oh, but it used to be like, nobody's home. Oh, God. Nobody's home. And then they had one that was called Rap. And it was like, you got to leave your name. You got to leave your number. Wait for the beep, beep. And it was like cheesy ways to leave messages on your answering machine instead of the classic, hi, this is Brian. I'm not home. Please leave your message after the beep.
And it was always like a slight extension of one's personality. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's me, man. Yeah. I'm the rap guy. So everybody will know it's me. Like, that was it. Like, oh, that's totes me.
Yeah. I'll tell you, when my friend Scott and I, we lived together for 7 years, moved from Indiana to Illinois to do music and stuff, and we were roommates for a really long time. And his sweet mother would call. Okay. And of course, Scott and I were just basically weird and, crazy and creative and stuff. So what we would do is we would take things off of the TV and make those our outgoing messages. And we'd say stuff like this. There was one time, I don't know if you remember the scene in Rain Man, where they're sitting there arguing about he only gets his underwear from Kmart.
Yeah,
and they're sitting there in
that.
the car. And so the message would go like this, Brian and Scott can't come to the phone right now because they're arguing about underwear. And then you hear in the background, what difference does it make where you buy underwear? It's underwear wherever you get it. Please leave your message after the beep.
That's pretty good.
So his mom would get on and she'd be like, I'm calling long distance. Please make your messages shorter.
Yes.
Because we'd have this real long ass, what difference does it make?
Right.
Where you buy underwear?
Oh, yeah. Parents hated that shit.
They didn't like any of that creativity. Just, name, number after the beep.
Because it was ridiculous. It was so like I listened to your joke there, and that was funny then, but not now. Can you imagine what it was to parents? It was like, this is not it's not funny. B, it's annoying. And they were right. It probably wasn't funny.
No, it was like, please hurry up.
This is not
I need to
funny.
leave a message.
Right.
Yeah, and your messages aren't funny, guys. Yeah.
We would do that to I live with I know you know my friend Zeph, and we live together, and we would do that. We would do like dual messages. Oh, you say this part, blah, blah, blah. But the one time, and this was another mother story that you just stimulated my memory on, and this was Zeph, the jackass, leaves a message on our outgoing mail for everybody that all he says is fucking leave a message.
Wow.
That's all he says. And I didn't know he'd done it. And my mom calls and she gets fucking leave a message. And she was appalled.
Wow.
She was like mad that I would allow that to happen in my household. So,
man,
yes, they were a creative outlet and an outlet to annoy as well. And I am glad they had their moment, but I'm glad they're gone.
Yeah, they're glad they're gone. Exactly. Now, yeah, you call my voicemail on my phone. It's just, hey, it's Brian. Leave a message.
Right. The shortest. I don't even want to hear.
I don't even want to hear message beep. Any of that.
Yeah, just call me.
Yeah,
call me. I'll call you back.
Hey, it's Brian. Yeah, leave a message.
We all know the drill.
We know the drill. Everybody
We all
knows
know the drill. You're not there.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I know. You're not
You'll
there.
call me back later, I'm sure. Don't save it.
Save the rest. I don't have time.
Yeah. We all know how this works.
Yeah. Oh, man. So that was number 2, answering machine. So the final one that we have on this list is yours, Mark.
Only one left on the list is DVDs and CDs. It's pretty amazing as we sit here right now to say, because this wasn't that long ago, that the DVD player is going away. We're seeing it's like before our very eyes. They still sell them. People still use them, but not much anymore. Not much anymore, because you get everything right there on your television screen with all the apps that you can use. So it's just unnecessary to go out and get a DVD unless it is something that you have on DVD that you can't convert at this point. So it's happening now. So this is so relevant with DVDs. CDs, that's one of those things that, I'll be honest with you, when CDs came out, they were so spectacular that I never thought that I would not have predicted that they would have gone away as relatively quickly, if you just go the whole span of music and life, as relatively quickly as they did, because it was such an upgrade from 8 tracks to cassette tapes. It was like the next 10 levels up to me. And now they're gone. They're gone, and we live a different way, and everybody knows that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now you got like 1,000 CDs that are like just sitting there and you don't need them. And they're probably sitting there stacked next to your cassette tapes. And I got a ton of those as well.
It's sad, isn't it? Because you want a way to still use them and make them feel useful, but they're just not.
But you can't let them go. They're like children. You worked hard.
It's a collection.
You worked hard to purchase these when you were, from 12 all the way up. So it's like you just want them, And sometimes I got stuff on cassettes that I still listen to, and sometimes I can download them onto my computer, so I always have them, like old air checks and things like that. But now you got this, as I said, the Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. You can just listen to whatever you want, and it's awesome. But the CDs just aren't prevalent anymore. And as we said, artists aren't getting paid because there's nothing tangible there. So I hope that it goes away, where these people that are streaming this music. I mean, if I have to pay just a little bit more so I make sure that the artists are paid correctly, I am all for that.
I'm with you. But you know the good side effect of them losing money in that regard for us, for fans?
What is that?
Everybody still tours, and a lot, because that's how they make money.
Exactly.
Right.
And not only that, but you also see like a lot of artists now getting into, other things. Like think of Rihanna, and she has that lingerie. Yes. She has the lingerie business, and she is like a billionaire.
Is she really?
Yeah. You got, just a lot of other artists that are selling clothing or have, Sirius XM channels, like
social media,
things like that. So, there are, you got to find ways to survive. But I really wish that they could do that. But it's good. That is the benefit of that.
It is.
That a lot of your older artists are still going to tour
all
now
up and running, man.
because they're not bringing in that income that they used to get from royalties.
Yeah,
So-
it's amazing. Like you go online and you're like, oh, I'm interested in seeing, like, I want to go see Korn. It's like, they're going to be in Chicago for 3 dates in the next. It's like everybody is always touring now.
Yeah. So that is the benefit of the DVDs and the CDs going to the waste side, I guess. All right, so we are done with that list. Mark, what is your personal list, if you even have one?
Yeah, I mean, this is I was considering, do we even need to do the personal list? Because really, I'll give you what I had, but really, this is one of those weird, like, it's not like ranking television shows or songs. It just is what it is.
Well, let's just leave it as that. It just is what it is.
Because, honestly, I didn't really put a lot of thought into my personal list.
So
but I'll give you what we just did from 14 to 1, just for the hell of it, for the recap, and then we'll talk about other stuff. 14 was beeper, 13 was caller ID, 12 was car door ashtrays, 11
You like car door.
I really
That's your
do.
favorite one.
It really is. I should have put it higher. 1-900 numbers was 11. Dating ads in the paper was 10. Number 9, 4 channels. 8, Brian's place of employment, Radio Shack. 7, windows, car windows. You had to crank them. 6 was the smoking sections that existed. 5, home phone. 4, record stores. Had a great conversation about that. Number 3, newspapers. Number 2, answering machines. Number 2, answering machine. And number 1, DVD, CD. So not necessarily rankings, but kind of.
Yeah.
I think that's it, buddy. Anything else?
No, that's going to wrap it up.
All right. For Brian Mitchell, I'm Mark Rohde. This has been Let Me Put a List Together.
Get in touch with the show through email at lists@podcastentertainment.com. Follow Let Me Put a List Together on Twitter at PodEntertain.
Enjoying this podcast? Be sure to check out all the other PEN podcasts by visiting www.podcastentertainment.com.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Let Me Put a List Together.